some reasons why we are not able to understand the people around us. Egotism is one reason. We are too self centered or ego centered. We think that the whole world is surrounded around us. Another reason is anxiety. We are so much anxious about our things, our perspective, and our things. We don't have a time to think about other people. Third reason, naive realism. We think that everybody sees the world same as we see the world. Another reason is lesser mind problem. As we don't have access to other people's mind same way we have access to our mind, we think that other minds are more simpler and our mind is more complicated. Another reason, essentialism or stereotyping. We generalize people. We think that Germans are like that, French are like that, that culture is like that. So we somehow generalize people so we don't get a curiosity to understand those people. Another reason is static mindset. We somehow think that once a person we judge on something, they are always like that. But actually, people may be evolving, but we don't take care much on that. So we think that okay, once this man is like that, he's always like that. There is a famous story by Winston Churchill's mother. A couple of stories in the book, but we'll only take a selective one. So Churchill's mother met two politicians, one Gladstone, and after the meeting, she told that I just found one of the most cleverest person. And then she met Benjamin Disraeli, and then she told that he make me feel that I am the most intelligent person. So mostly we'll be go with Gladstone most of the time. We are always trying to make or show or present ourselves in such a way that we are the smartest, cleverest, and the most best people around us. But to understand the people, we should be somewhere like Benjamin Disraeli. We should make other people open their mind, talk about it, and all such things are important. So these books have couple chapters or many chapters. We did not go chapter by chapter. We just mix and match chapters just to give you some insights so that you can just apply, understand, and apply in your life. Let's talk about another story. A man standing on one side of a river bank, and there is a lady on the opposite side of the river. And she's asking him, how can I get to the other side of the river? And the man replied, famously, he replied, you are already on the other side of the river. Why you have to come? Why you have to do? You're already there. That is something we think about perspective, because we always think the perspective what we are seeing is all other people are seeing the same. One of the secrets which we can tell, or one of the most important one or a specialist one for Elon Musk, is that he may have lot of other skills, maybe you already evaluate, but there is one skill which make him very special. He is able to take at least 12 perspective or a dozen perspective on a problem. We most of us are centered around one or two perspective and we lock it there, but that's not the thing. So artificial intelligence is going to replace many jobs. Maybe the most of the jobs what you are doing now, it will be replaced soon, but there is one skill which cannot be replaced by artificial intelligence, which is to understand a person, because machine is going to do its machine part only. We human have to do our part to understand the other person, emotional or social being. So even every job has been taken care or conquered by artificial intelligence. There is one job going to left, and that is how to understand a person. So in Bell Laboratories, that was a famous question happening. They found that some of the employees are very much productive. So naturally, as a company just trying to get more growth, they try to investigate what is the secret behind this. So they try to see many aspects. What are this? They are doing something special, or like what is the things? So they don't get anything, but they get only one point, which is that all of these productive employees, they are talking to a scientist, Nyquist. He is famous for theories and all, communications theories and all. And what is important for Nyquist, he is not Because he's not preaching someone anything. He's actually listening much, asking questions, make those people authors of their story. They are getting being heard, they are being listened, and that somehow then he tried to share suggestions and all. And Bell Laboratories found that interactions with the scientist is the secret of all those productive employees. So for understanding a person, it's not a skill you can learn from a course. It's going to be a grown, or it has to be built up. And that is where the information to the knowledge to the wisdom. So wisdom is something like you are able to grasp a person in a very short point in time, and that's something like which we can relate to Franklin D. Roosevelt. In 1930s, FDR was hosting a 28-year-old congressman in White House. His name is Lyndon Johnson. And after Lyndon Johnson left, FDR Roosevelt has talked to Mr. Harold, his secretary, telling that, Harold, that is a kind of an uninhibited young pro I have been if I am not gone to Harvard. And he told afterwards, FDR predicted, that's where the wisdom is coming. In the coming generation, the power of the balance of power is going to shift between South and West. In that kind of situation, this kid is going to be the first Southern American president. And FDR prediction actually happened. He became the president. So that is the wisdom or understanding of a person, like which you can hone and improve and make it a skill for you. So knowing is a whole body experience. It's a holistic thing. We try to see people. We only see a piece of them. We somehow have to be receptive, open up to the experience of a person. If you try to close the book, you cannot write anything on that. So you should have some level of receptivity and active curiosity. Something like, affection used to tell that affection is something like you separate the reasoning from the emotion. You have to have some level of emotional attachment to a person to understand a person. You have to somehow leave the logic for some point in time and take the reasoning, active curiosity to understand a person. Reverend Paul VI has told that modern man listen more willingly to a witness than to a teacher. Okay, and if he does listen to a teacher, it is because they are witnesses. Somehow, what his Paul has given a very appreciable understanding about that problem. So small talks, which is being we used to tell that, how are you, how is the weather, and all such things, which is actually something like an underappreciated quality. First quality of accompaniment is that you should have some level of patience. Okay, you will get small talks that makes the things more patient. That's an opportunity. We don't use that much to understand it. So most precious gift, which actually you will not find it when you are searching for it. You will be just waiting for it and it will come. So that somehow involved like a surrender of power. If you surrender yourself, the ego or you as a you and your purpose, the gifts will just come to you. That's it. So it's a beautiful to behold. It's a surrender of power, and you just wait for a person to just present itself, and you can be receptive and curious about the same. Ralph Waldo Emerson famously told that people see only what they are prepared to see. So there is actually two layers of reality, an objective reality and a subjective reality. Same thing which you are looking at is different from how I am perceiving it. So the crucial question for every person is not what happened. It is to see and interpret the things. How does a person interpret that? What happened to him? That is the most important thing. A personal point of view is something like a creative artist. He take the experience, because whoever is creative, they take all the experience of his life, of his reading, and all these things integrating, or whatever is the creative artist. He just combine it there. So cognitive scientists call it as constructionism. When we open our eyes, we see a lot of things, right? But that is all, that colors, that sounds which you are hearing me now, or a color you are seeing now, everything is actually a perception or a constructive understanding. In actual fact, if you go to the physical or the theory of physics and all these matters and all, the whole universe doesn't have any color or anything. It is just a bunch of waves and particles. Our brain perceive it in such a way that, and we are just seeing it. As we and someone else around us is seeing the same thing, we think that that is there. That's the point. But otherwise, it's a bunch of waves and particles, and we are constructing our reality. So, how to talk in a nice way to a person? So, if you consider attention, don't take attention as an or treat attention as an on off switch. You cannot consider attention as a dimmer. You cannot regulate it. If you are not attending, doesn't mean there is a no partial attention. Attention is either full or no. It's a binary topic. So don't consider it as attention is a dimmer. It's a on off switch. And be a loud listener. That is important when you are talking to someone. You should be able to listen with your emotions and everything. You should be whole there. So that will show in your body language and all. And third thing is that favor familiarity. Actually, we think that people are interested to talk about unfamiliar things, but actually, when you are trying to talk, people always try to talk about something which they know, or they try to interpret the things based on what they know. That's how our brain works. It create patterns and understanding and all. And another part is that whoever is telling you something, make them the authors, not the witnesses. Let them be the author. And also, don't fear about the pause. Okay, if you are having a talk or something, a good talks are happening, don't fear the pause. Sometimes the pause creates something more interesting, and you can do the looping also. Like for example, when where the last person stop, you can provide that person additional supporting questions just to have the story flow back to us. And you can be a midwife model. You don't have to be a wife. A midwife is something like there is no going to give a birth. It is assisting the other person in the own creation. You don't have to create it, just assist it. That's what we mentioned earlier about the looping also. Also, when there is a disagreement, try to find the disagreement under the disagreement. When there is a disagreement, actually you will see what is showing in front of us, but maybe there is somewhere below the disagreement, there is another level of disagreement. If you are able to see that, then you will be able to understand the problem and make it a good conversation, or something similar to negotiation and transactions and all. But that's how a good talk should work. So the right questions, most of us, if you're working on a career and all, you will be getting an opportunity to interview a lot of people. And interviews are notoriously failure, because most of the time we hire a lot of people and then at the end we come to understand that they are not the right people. Somehow two people have the same agenda, who are interviewing and interviewee, because one is trying to understand the person, other is trying to just make sure that he understand only what he want them to understand. So the way, or the first thing the author is telling is to understand about in a job interviews. First thing is to check for the extreme talent. Talent is something, extreme talent is something else. Like you can consider tennis as a work, and you can tennis as a passion. Like Thomas Edison told that I never did a day work, it was all fun. You can call him, he's a scientist, he's a day worker, he was a company owner and all these things, but that was not the answer. And second thing is that there should be some level of spirit of generosity with the person. Will this person be kind to others? That's also an important thing, because when you are trying to hire someone, if you have a passion to understand an extreme talent is there, and at the same time he has a generosity to understand another person, he can become a team player, a better team player, and he will be a passionate worker. So attitude is more important than aptitude. As the saying goes, pain that is not getting transformed, it is going to be getting transmitted. The point is that there is some unchanneled energy of your emotions and things are there, it is going to be channeled somewhere else. Just beware that. So social disconnection, because people live in multiple scenarios. All the people you are meeting every day, they will be born up in different scenarios. You cannot be able to judge it. Somehow the social disconnection may be happening in the society, in the home, or even between the siblings. So when the people, social disconnection somehow warps the mind. People feel unseen, they shut down socially, they start to offense and become afraid of the things. It's something like, which is something like their loneliness. They just feel to like meanness that. So that's something which you have to look at also, the blindness of the people. So if you are socially disconnected, that will make you challenging to understand other person, because your mind is already warped and you don't want to see it. So you have to open that disconnection and somehow resolve that. So in hard conversation, actually there is two levels of conversation in every conversation. One is the power relationship between the participant. It has two levels. One is an official conversation, another one is an actual conversation. So the point is that most of the time we try to ignore that part. If you try to split your motive, or for example, I'll make it more simpler. Like you are talking to someone, that is going to be a crucial conversation or harder conversation. You think that it's not easy because the other person understanding and his argument, you already know it. So the first way to take it up is that you split your motive and present it to the other person. So that way other person will not spend energy to just try to argue with you to understand you, or he's trying to always pushing you to understand your motives. But if you already open the, or you reveal that one, then that makes things easy. Then they are not like, they're not going to send what they are, then they are going to just agree on the things. The harder conversation will become a more easier conversation, and you can have a more productive crucial conversation. So a person is a lifelong project of crafting their own life. Even in our childhood we live twice or more than twice. First we live in a childhood. Later on life, we'll go back to that childhood and revisit them to understand. As an adult, as all these people we have, we try to revisit our childhood. That's why Wordsworth told, "Child is a father of man." It's something like a source of spiritual nourishment. The challenge in seeing that, you should have some level of double vision to understand a person. Don't see as a person now. How he reached there, that is a long project, a lifelong project. It has become that person. For sure that person will be going back to his childhood, but you can also step back and perceive each individual person, and then how to see that how the generations has poured into this person, how the culture has just poured into this person and becoming the who he is. So that somehow avoid the stereotyping and generalization. You can tell that okay, such country people are that, this country is like this, that country. But if you try to understand that person as a project, as an entity, as a creation, as a creative endeavor, then you can better understand that person. Something about empathy. The point is that babies, especially when a child is born, out of the womb, he is starting to, the urge for appreciation is actually starting there. So in the beginning, until the 2 year of age, uh, babies cannot understand he is a separate entity. He feels that he and the parent is the same, and they try to being seen also. If they are not being seen by his mother or caretaker, then they'll get traumatized. But after the age of 2, he'll try to understand, okay, I am a separate and my parent is a separate thing. That moment onwards, the conflict happen. And then the baby will try to do all the things, not because he want to do, just because her mother or his father is just want to make sure that he just trying to claim his own identity. So the point is that if you look back to our earlier chapter, the point is that we try to revisit our childhood. So imagine a 2 year old when you are, you are not being appreciated by your parents or understand the parents, because we have a book in our channel called Good Inside and all, talking about such things like the babies are inherently good inside and all. So the point is that if you are not trying to take that separation of personality, and you have been either avoided or deprived, because when you get avoided, you feel like you pretend that you don't have needs, then you somehow limit yourself on that. Or suppose you are a baby who have been deprived, the needs of the child are been ignored. Okay, baby go and ask his parents, okay, I want this, I want that. He's been ignored. They will think that I am not worthy enough. So those deprivation, those avoidance, as we mentioned, it's a lifelong project. It's being taken care. So a person can be born in this way also. They are not going to sell your biography before you talk to a person. So you have to somehow have a curiosity and receptivity to understand it and search for it and wait for it as well. Another thing is overreactivity. Suppose some people have been abused or threatened or something. So person afflicted, they will have a hyperactive threat detection system. They will overreact to a scenario. If you try to see a people in that way, you can mostly get they have been abused or they live it in such a traumatized scenario. Also, passive aggression. Suppose if you are born and brought up in where a home where anger was terrifying, you will be having such level of passive aggression. You cannot see it straight away, but aggression will be passively there on every task. Like there will be frustrations on every task you are seeing. So empathy, to understand a person, or art of empathy, has actually 3 skills. First one, you have to mirror it. If somebody is having that overreactivity and passive aggression, depression, avoidance and all, try to mirror that, so that they will be more able to open up your thing. Second thing, you can mentalize it. You can just step in their shoes and mentalize the scenario. And third thing, naturally or more compassionately, that is caring. If you do these three skills, you can empathize with that person and you can able to understand that person better. We tend to assume that world is benevolent, and grief or the pain or suffering is not a state but a process. It's a period of grief. So the point is that most people live in a normal life or routine life, but when they hit with a suffering or a grief, that can sometime become a turning point, so that will change their understanding of their reality. That shake their mental models. They can use that to construct a new reality. So for example, if you see a person's reality and understanding has been totally changed, it could be a reason because he has met with a tremendous grief. Okay, you are living like a normal life. Suddenly you have a big loss. That can transform you, because that is going to shake your constructive understanding of the world around you. So search for that as well. So George W. Bush, the ex-American president, was being known for an extrovert, or he's a famous extrovert. Even his father, George W. Bush, is a toddler itself. He was very much active person. Even in Sunday school, every of his colleagues or the friends in the school, they used to just wish the teacher as teacher. But George W. Bush, call him here little lady. So that's how much extrovert he is. Sometime when he has a conflict with one time with an opposition governor, and when he was a governor and all, he go and kiss that person, and then that he tried to just melt a situation so easily with his charisma. But the point is that same time he got a high score in extrovert, he got a very less score in curiosity. He is a very less curious person. So that mixture of high extroversion and low curiosity is what actually contributed to the catastrophic decisions during Iraq war and all, as per author. So you cannot, extrovert is maybe a good character, good understanding when dealing with people and all. But if you have a less curiosity, you are going to be in trouble by yourself. You cannot judge or reason a situation properly without active curiosity to understand the problem and understand the person in front of you. So somehow we are reaching to the conclusion. So three more skills. Extroversion, as we mentioned, they score high, drawn to all positive emotions. So if you want to understand a person is more extrovert, he will be more drawn to the positive. But the point is that, as we mentioned, they will have a trouble also. But there is another category people were called, there will be more consciousness. Actually, that's more like an excellent impulse of control. They will be less to procrastinate. They will be ability to focus on long-term goal and all. But the point is that they'll be very much sensitive as well. Another thing is that neuroticism, which is also respond powerfully to negative emotions. You can also look for such people. Be careful with such people. And third or final one is agreeableness. There are some people who get more agree actually, good at getting going, but still you should have some level of active curiosity around there. So the point is that these are all some insights to understand the person. As we mentioned, understanding a person or a person itself is a lifelong project. Even you saw someone yesterday, you don't have to stop or act curiosity on that person today because he's still a lifelong project. Project is still ongoing. So if you like to interest in similar books, we have a book in our channel called Digital Body Language. Check it out the same as well. Until we come across with the next book, bye. Thank you for now.